Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Welcome to today's session of Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, memorization, shloka recitation, and Mahabharata reading. Let's begin. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 7, text 1. I was going to ask you, I don't know how confident you are, so let's see. I will give a number and you just, if you know the verse, raise your hand. Okay? So I'll get an idea how much you're able to remember. Okay. What is 7-1? Who knows 7-1? You can see it. Okay. Anyone knows 7-1? Just raise your hand if you know it. Mayasabha. Try, Rasapriya. Asamshayam
samagramam
yatha gyasasi. Okay. Who knows 7-13? Difficult one. Okay, 7-14. This is a famous one. Daivi Hesha Gunamayi. Bolo, unmute.
Daivi Hesha Gunamayi. Sama
Duratyaya
Mameva Sasi
Mameva Prapadyante
Mayam Edam
Tarantite. Okay. 8-5. Who remembers 8-5? Antakale cha Mameva. Go ahead, Krishna.
Antakale cha Mameva Smaran Muktva Kalevaram Ya Prayati Samadbhavam Yati Nastyatra Samshaya.
Okay. All right. Who remembers 9-14? Satatam Kirtayantamam. Anyone knows? Okay. So looks like we are not, you know. Go ahead. Try.
Satatam Kirtayantamam
Yatantascha.
Dridhamrata
Dridhamrata. Namasyantascha.
Bhaktya
Nitya Yukta Upasita. Okay. So I see that people are not very confident, so we'll just keep reciting. Okay? We'll continue reciting. Begin. 7-1. Sri Bhagavanu Vacha Maya Saktamana Partha Yogam Yunjanmadashrayah Asamshayam Samagram Mam Yathagyasya Tachrinu. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "Now hear, O son of Pritha, how by practicing yoga in full consciousness of me, with mind attached to me, you can know me in full, free from doubt." 7-2. Jnanam teham savijnanam idam vakshyamya sheshatah यज्ञात्वा नेह भूयोन्यज् ज्ञातव्यम् avashishyate. I shall now declare unto you in full this knowledge, both phenomenal and numinous. This being known, nothing further shall remain for you to know. 7.3 मनुष्याणां सहस्रेषु कश्चिद्यतति सिद्धये यततामपि सिद्धानां कश्चिन्मां वेत्ति तत्त्वतः. Out of many thousands among men, one may endeavor for perfection, and of those who have achieved perfection, hardly one knows me in truth. 7.4 भूमिरापो नलो वायुः कं मनो बुद्धिरेव च अहंकारा इति यम्मे भिन्ना प्रकृतिरष्टधा. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. Altogether, these 8 comprise my separated material energies. 7.5 अपरेयमितस्त्वन्यां प्रकृतिं विद्धि मे परां जीवभूतां महाबाहो ययेदं धार्यते जगत्. Besides these, O mighty armed Arjuna, there is another superior energy of mind which comprises the living entities who are exploiting the resources of this material inferior nature. One second. Yasapriya, you didn't log in? Okay. 7.6 एतद्योनीनि भूतानि सर्वाणीत्युपधारय अहं कृत्स्नस्य जगतः प्रभवः प्रलयस्तथा. All created beings have their source in these 2 natures. Of all that is material and all that is spiritual in this world, know for certain that I am both the origin and the dissolution. 7.7 मत्तः परतरं नान्यत् किञ्चिदस्ति धनञ्जय मयि सर्वम् इदं प्रोतं सूत्रे मणिगणा इव. O conqueror of wealth, there is no truth superior to me. Everything rests upon me as pearls are strung on a thread. 7.8 रसोऽहमप्सु कौन्तेय प्रभास्मि शशिसूर्ययोः प्रणवः सर्ववेदेषु शब्दः खे पौरुषं नृषु. O son of Kunti, I am the taste of water, the light of the sun and the moon, the syllable Om in the Vedic mantras. I am the sound in ether and ability in man. 7 9 7:10 7:10 बीजं मां सर्वभूतानां विद्धि पार्थ सनातनं बुद्धिर्बुद्धिमतामस्मि तेजस्तेजस्विनामहम्. O son of Pritha, know that I am the original seed of all existences, the intelligence of the intelligent, and the prowess of all powerful men. 7:11 Balam balavatam chaham kamaraga vivarjitam dharma viruddho bhuteshu kamosmi bharatarshabha. I am the strength of the strong, devoid of passion and desire. I am sex life which is not contrary to religious principles. O Lord of the Bharatas, Arjuna. 7:12 ये चैव सात्विका भावा राजसास्तामसाश्च ये मत्त एवेति तान् विद्धि न त्वहं तेषु ते मयि. Know that all states of being, be they of goodness, passion, or ignorance, are manifested by my energy. I am in one sense everything, but I am independent. I am not under the modes of material nature, for they, on the contrary, are within me. 7:13 त्रिभिर्गुणमयैर्भावैर् एभिः सर्वमिदं जगत् मोहितं नाभिजानाति मामेभ्यः परमव्ययम्. Deluded by the 3 modes, goodness, passion, and ignorance, the whole world does not know me, who am above the modes and inexhaustible. 7:14 दैवी एषा गुणमयी मम माया दुरत्यया मामेव ये प्रपद्यन्ते मायामेतां तरन्ति ते. This divine energy of mine, consisting of the three modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome, but those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. 7:15 Namam dushkritino mudha prapadyante naradhamaः mayaya pahrita dhyana asuram bhavamashitaः. Madhava, are you reciting? I don't hear you. Translation. Those miscreants who are grossly foolish, who are lowest among mankind, whose knowledge is stolen by illusion, and who partake of the atheistic nature of demons, do not surrender unto me. 7:16 Chaturvidha bhajante mam jana sukritinarjuna arto jigyasur artharthi jnani cha bharatarshabha. O best among the Bharatas, four kinds of pious men begin to render devotional service unto me: the distressed, the desirer of wealth, the inquisitive, and he who is searching for knowledge of the Absolute. 7:17 Tesham jnani nityayukta ekabhaktirvishishyate priyo hi jnani notyartham aham sacha mama priyaha. Of these, the one who is in full knowledge and who is always engaged in pure devotional service is the best, for I am very dear to him and he is dear to me. 7:19 Bahunam janmanamante jnanavan mam prapadyate vasudevah sarvamiti sa mahatma sudurlabha. After many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. 7:20 Kamaistaistairhritaggyana prapadyantenyadevataः tam tam niyamam asthaya prakritya niyata swaya. Those Mhm. Sorry, 7:19. I'll finish that again. I will say 7:19 again. After many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. So please recite along with me, everyone. You can keep yourselves in mute, but you recite along with me. 7:20 कामैस्तैस्तैर्हृतज्ञाना प्रपद्यन्तेऽन्यदेवताः तं तं नियमम् आस्थाय प्रकृत्या नियता स्वया. Those whose intelligence has been stolen by material desires surrender unto demigods and follow the particular rules and regulations of worship according to their own natures. 7:22 सतया श्रद्धया युक्तस्तस्याराधनमीहते लभते च ततः कामान् मयैव विहितान् हितान्. Endowed with such a faith, he endeavors to worship a particular demigod and obtains his desires. But in actuality, these benefits are bestowed by me alone. 7:23 अन्तवत्तु फलं तेषां तद्भवत्यल्पमेधसां देवान् देवयजो यान्ति मद्भक्ता यान्ति मामपि. Men of small intelligence worship the demigods and their fruits are limited and temporary. Those who worship the demigods go to the planets of the demigods, but my devotees ultimately reach my supreme planet. 7:24 अव्यक्तं व्यक्तिमापन्नं मन्यन्ते मामबुद्धयः परं भावम् अजानन्तो ममाव्ययम् अनुत्तमम्. Unintelligent men who do not know me perfectly think that I, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, was impersonal before and have now assumed this personality. Due to their small knowledge, they do not know my higher nature, which is imperishable and supreme. 7:25 नाहं प्रकाशः सर्वस्य योगमाया समावृतः मूढोऽयं नाभिजानाति loko mamajamavyayam. I am never manifest to the foolish and unintelligent. For them I am covered by my internal potency, and therefore they do not know that I am unborn and infallible. 726. वेदाहं समतीतानि वर्तमानानि चार्जुन भविष्याणि च भूतानि मां तु वेद न कश्चन. O Arjuna, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, I know everything that has happened in the past, all that is happening in the present, and all things that are yet to come. I also know all living entities, but me no one knows. 727. इच्छाद्वेषसमुत्थेन द्वन्द्वमोहेन भारत सर्वभूतानि सम्मोहं सर्गे यान्ति परन्तप. O scion of Bharata, O conqueror of the foe, all living entities are born into delusion, bewildered by dualities, arisen by desire and hate. 728. येषां त्वन्तगतं पापं जनानां पुण्यकर्मणां ते द्वन्द्वमोहनिर्मुक्ता भजन्ते मां दृढव्रताः. Persons who have acted piously in previous lives and in this life, and whose sinful actions are completely eradicated, are freed from the dualities of delusion, and they engage themselves in my service with determination. Chapter 8, 8.5. अन्तकाले च मामेव स्मरन् मुक्त्वा कलेवरं यः प्रयाति समद्भावं याति नास्त्यत्र संशयः. And whoever at the end of his life quits his body, remembering me alone, at once attains my nature. Of this there is no doubt. 8.6. यं यं वापि स्मरन् भावं त्यजत्यन्ते कलेवरं तं तं एवैति कौन्तेय सदा तद्भावभावितः. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, O son of Kunti, that state he will attain without fail. 8.7. तस्मात् सर्वेषु कालेषु माम् अनुस्मर युध्य च मय्यर्पिता मनो बुद्धिर् मामे वैश्यस्य संशयः. Therefore, Arjuna, you should always think of me in the form of Krishna and at the same time carry out your prescribed duty of fighting. With your activities dedicated to me and your mind and intelligence fixed on me, you will attain me without doubt. 8.8. अभ्यासयोगयुक्तेन चेतसा नान्यगामिना परमं पुरुषं दिव्यं याति पार्थानुचिन्तयन्. He who meditates on me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his mind constantly engaged in remembering me, undeviated from the path, he, O Partha, is sure to reach me. 8.14. अनन्यचेताः सततं यो मां स्मरति नित्यशः तस्याहं सुलभः पार्थ नित्ययुक्तस्य योगिनः. For one who always remembers me without deviation, I am easy to obtain, O son of Pritha, because of his constant engagement in devotional service. 8.15. मामुपेत्य पुनर्जन्म दुःखालयम् अशाश्वतं नाप्नुवन्ति महात्मानः संसिद्धिं परमां गताः. After attaining me, the great souls who are yogis in devotion never return to this temporary world which is full of miseries because they have attained the highest perfection. 8.16. आब्रह्मभुवनाल्लोकाः पुनरावर्तिनोऽर्जुन मामुपेत्य तु कौन्तेय पुनर्जन्म न विद्यते. From the highest planet in the material world down to the lowest, all are places of misery, wherein repeated birth and death take place. But one who attains to my abode, O son of Kunti, never takes birth again. 8.17. सहस्रयुगपर्यन्तम् अहर्यद्भ्रमणो विदुः Ratrim yuga sahasrantam teho ratravido janaha. By human calculation, 1,000 ages taken together form the duration of Brahma's one day, and such also is the duration of his night. I hope everyone is able to recite along with me. 8:19. भूतग्रामः स एवायं भूत्वा भूत्वा प्रलीयते रात्र्यागमे वशः पार्थ प्रभवत्यः रागमे. Again and again, when Brahma's day arrives, all living entities come into being, and with the arrival of Brahma's night, they are helplessly annihilated. 8:20. परस्तस्मात्तु भावोऽन्यो व्यक्तो व्यक्तात् सनातनः यः स सर्वेषु भूतेषु नश्यत्सु न विनश्यति. Yet there is another unmanifest nature which is eternal and is transcendental to this manifested and unmanifested matter. It is supreme and is never annihilated. When all in this world is annihilated, that part remains as it is. 8:21. अव्यक्तोऽक्षर इत्युक्तस्तं आहुः परमां गतिं यं प्राप्य न निवर्तन्ते तद्धाम paramam mama. That which the Vedantists describe as unmanifest and infallible, that which is known as the supreme destination, that place from which, having attained it, one never returns, that is my supreme abode. 8:28. वेदेषु यज्ञेषु तपस्सु चैव दानेषु यत् पुण्यफलं प्रदिष्टम् अत्येति तत्सर्वमिदं विदित्वा योगी परं स्थानमुपैति चाद्यम्. A person who accepts the path of devotional service is not bereft of the results derived from studying the Vedas, performing sacrifices, undergoing austerities, giving charity, or pursuing philosophical and fruitive activities. Simply by performing devotional service, he attains all these, and at the end, he reaches the supreme eternal abode. So we'll do chapter 9 also. Chapter 9, 9:1. Sri Bhagavanuvacha idam tu te guhyatamam pravakshyamyanasuyave jnanam vijnana sahitam yajgyatva mokshase shubhat. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, My dear Arjuna, because you are never envious of me, I shall impart to you this most confidential knowledge and realization, knowing which you shall be relieved of the miseries of material existence. 9:2. राजविद्या राजगुह्यं पवित्रम् इदमुत्तमं प्रत्यक्षावगमं धर्म्यं सुसुखं कर्तुमव्ययम्. This knowledge is the king of education, the most secret of all secrets. It is the purest knowledge, and because it gives direct perception of the self by realization, it is the perfection of religion. It is everlasting and it is joyfully performed. 9:3. अश्रद्धधाना पुरुषा धर्मस्यास्य परन्तपा अप्राप्य मां निवर्तन्ते मृत्यु samsaravartmani. Those who are not faithful in this devotional service cannot attain me, O conqueror of enemies. Therefore they return to the path of birth and death in this material world. 9:4. मया ततमिदं सर्वं जगद् अव्यक्तमूर्तिना मत्स्थानि सर्वभूतानि न चाहं तेष्वस्थितः. By me in my unmanifested form, this entire universe is pervaded. All beings are in me, but I am not in them. All of you please recite and read along. 9:5. न च मत्स्थानि भूतानि पश्य मे योगमैश्वरम् भूतभृन्न च भूतस्थो ममात्मा भूतभावनः. And yet everything that is created does not rest in me. Behold my mystic opulence. Although I am the maintainer of all living entities, and although I am everywhere, I am not a part of this cosmic manifestation, for myself is the very source of creation. 9:10 मयाध्यक्षेण प्रकृतिः सूयते सचराचरं हेतुनानेन कौन्तेय जगद्विपरिवर्तते. This material nature, which is one of my energies, is working under my direction, O son of Kunti, producing all moving and non-moving beings. Under its rule, this manifestation is created and annihilated again and again. 9:11 अवजानन्ति मां मूढा मानुषीं तनुमाश्रितं परं भावं मजानन्तो मम भूता महेश्वरम्. Fools deride me when I descend in the human form. They do not know my transcendental nature as the supreme Lord of all that be. 9:12 मोघाशामोघकर्माणो मोघज्ञानाविचेतसः राक्षसीमासुरीं चैव प्रकृतिं मोहिनीं श्रिताः. Those who are thus bewildered are attracted by demonic and atheistic views. In that deluded condition, their hopes for liberation, their fruitive activities, and their culture of knowledge are all defeated. 9:13 महात्मानस्तु मां पार्थ दैवीं प्रकृतिमाश्रिताः भजन्त्यनन्यमनसो ज्ञात्वा भूतादिमव्ययम्. O son of Pritha, those who are not deluded, the great souls, are under the protection of the divine nature. They are fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible. 9:14 सततं कीर्तयन्तो मां यतन्तश्च दृढव्रताः नमस्यन्तश्च मां भक्त्या नित्ययुक्ता उपासते. Always chanting my glories, endeavoring with great determination, bowing down before me, these great souls perpetually worship me with devotion. 9:17 पिताहमस्य जगतो माता धाता पितामहः वेद्यं पवित्रमोङ्कार ऋक्सामा यजुरेव च. I am the father of this universe, the mother, the support, and the grandsire. I am the object of knowledge, the purifier, and the syllable Om. I am also the Rig, the Sama, and the Yajur Vedas. Dhanush, are you there? I don't see you. Thank you. 9:21 ते तं भुक्त्वा स्वर्गलोकं विशालं क्षीणे पुण्ये मर्त्यलोकं विशन्ति एवं त्रयी धर्ममनुप्रपन्ना गतागतं कामकामा लभन्ते. When they have thus enjoyed vast heavenly sense pleasure and the results of their pious activities are exhausted, they return to this mortal planet again. Thus, those who seek sense enjoyment by adhering to the principles of the three Vedas achieve only repeated birth and death. 9:22 अनन्याश्चिन्तयन्तो मां ये जना पर्युपासते तेषां नित्याभियुक्तानां योगक्षेमं वहाम्यहम्. But those who worship me with exclusive devotion, meditating on my transcendental form, to them I carry what they lack and I preserve what they have. 9:23 येऽप्यन्यदेवता भक्ता यजन्ते श्रद्धयान्विताः तेऽपि मामेव कौन्तेय यजन्त्यविधिपूर्वकम्. Those who are devotees of other gods and who worship them with faith actually worship only me, O son of Kunti, but they do so in a wrong way. 9:24 अहं हि सर्वयज्ञानां भोक्ता च प्रभुरेव च न तु मामभिजानन्ति तत्त्वेनातश्च वन्तिते. I am the only enjoyer and master of all sacrifices. Therefore, Those who do not recognize my true transcendental nature fall down. 925. Yanti deva vrata devan pitrin yanti pitrivrataha bhutani yanti bhuteja yanti madhyajinopi mam. Those who worship the demigods will take birth among the demigods. Those who worship the ancestors go to the ancestors. Those who worship ghosts and spirits will take birth among such beings. And those who worship me will live with me. 926. Patram pushpam phalam toyam yo me bhaktya prayachati tad aham bhaktyupahritam ashnami prayatatmanaha. If one offers me with love and devotion a leaf, a flower, a fruit, or water, I will accept it. 927. Yat karoshi yad ashnasi yad juhoshi dadasi yat tapasyasi kaunteya tad kurushva madarpanam. Whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer or give away, and whatever austerities you perform, do that, O son of Kunti, as an offering to me. 929. Samoham sarva bhuteshu na me dveshosti na priyaha ye bhajanti tumam bhaktya maite teshu chapyaham. I envy no one, nor am I partial to anyone. I am equal to all. But whoever renders service unto me in devotion is a friend, is in me, and I am also a friend to him. 930. अपि चेत् सुदुराचारो भजते मामनन्यभाक् साधुरेव स मन्तव्यः सम्यग् व्यवसितो हि सः. Even if one commits the most abominable action, if he is engaged in devotional service, he is to be considered saintly because he is properly situated in his determination. 931. क्षिप्रं भवति धर्मात्मा शश्वच्छान्तिं निगच्छति कौन्तेय प्रतिजानीहि न मे भक्तः प्रणश्यति. He quickly becomes righteous and attains lasting peace. O son of Kunti, declare it boldly that my devotee never perishes. 932. मां हि पार्था व्यपाश्रित्य येऽपि स्युः पापयोनयः स्त्रियो वैश्यास्तथा शूद्रास्तेऽपि यान्ति परां गतिम्. O son of Pritha, those who take shelter in me, though they be of lower birth, women, Vaishyas and Shudras, can attain the supreme destination. 933. किं पुनर्ब्राह्मणा पुण्या भक्ता राजर्षयस्तथा अनित्यम् असुखं लोकम् imam prapya bhajasva mam. How much more this is so of the righteous Brahmanas, the devotees, and the saintly kings. Therefore, having come to this temporary miserable world, engage in loving service unto me. 934. मन्मना भव मद्भक्तो मद्याजी मां नमस्कुरु मामे वैश्यसि युक्त्वैवम् आत्मानं मत्परायणः. Engage your mind always in thinking of me. Become my devotee. Offer obeisances to me and worship me. Being completely absorbed in me, surely you will come to me. So we will stop Bhagavad Gita recitation here and we will do Mahabharata now. So, for those who have joined newly, we have been memorizing these shlokas every day for the past few years. So, up to the 9th chapter, we have already memorized these. So, we recite every morning in the morning 6:30 class. Each person takes turn reciting these verses. So, the same verse we recite, everyone recites every day. Individually, they do it for the whole week. So you become familiar with that verse. So what we are doing now is a revision of what we have learned before. So that is why we are doing so many verses at a time. So if you're finding it difficult to recite, it's okay, it's understandable. But when you start attending the 6:30 classes in the morning, because you'll also recite the same verse every day, you'll become familiar with the verses. So now we'll read Mahabharata. So do you remember anything from what we read yesterday? Anyone remembers? Just raise your hands. Any points that you yes, go ahead, Dhanush.
Okay, so
You went in mute again.
I remember, I think we left off at the part where Krishna had tolerated the 100 insults of the king, and I
Shipal.
forgot his name
Shipal.
about that. Okay, so, and then he took his Sudarshan Chakra and he sliced his head off.
Yes, very good. Okay, anyone else? You remember anything else? Yeah, that's where we ended yesterday. Okay, remember more, okay?
Okay, so I remember that all the brothers had went and taken over a lot of kingdoms so that they could come and perform the Rajasuya Yajna.
Very good.
And
So,
when Krishna was being worshipped, the king did not like it.
yeah, Shishupal didn't like it. Okay,
Yeah, Shishupal didn't like it.
thank you. So, Geeta, you were raising your hand?
Said was about to say.
Okay. Anyone else remembers anything that we read? What happened before that? So, they went in the 4 directions to collect wealth. So, we saw that Arjun went north, Bhimsen went east, Sahadev went south, and Nakul went west. And the kings that they conquered in these different directions. Arjun met with the semi-celestials, right? The Uttara northern Kurus, and he actually conquering. He went into the celestial regions, and they stopped him. They said human beings cannot come here. And they said, even if you came here, you wouldn't be able to see us. So Arjun said, please give us tribute, right? Accepting, if you don't oppose Yudhisthira Maharaj as being the emperor, then you have to give a tribute. So they were more than happy and they gave tribute like that. So they collected a lot of wealth and they came back. And Krishna also came because Krishna had promised he will come at the beginning of Rajasuya Yagya. So Krishna came with all his family members. And after the Rajasuya Yagya was performed, so I think that's where we stopped. Let me see what happened. So for the Agra Puja, there was some problem. Yes, go ahead, Dhanush.
So I remember that you said that there was so much wealth, that they had so much wealth that it would last them more than 100 years.
Very good. Yes. So much wealth. That's right. So much wealth that if they just kept spending it, it would still last for more than 100 years. And also when it was his treasury was full, yes. Um, uh, Yudhishthir Maharaj's treasury was full, and when Krishna brought his gifts, it started overflowing. He brought so many more gifts. Okay, all right. So let's quickly see. So from Hastinapur also so many people had come, right? The family members had come. Duryodhana, Bhishma Dev, Dhrtarastra Maharaj, and they were very happy that someone from their line is performing Rajasuya Yagya. They were feeling so proud and they all took some services. Okay, what was the service that Krishna got or he took up in the Rajasuya Yagya? Who remembers? What responsibility did Krishna take up? Anyone remembers? Oh, you raise your hand. I'm not seeing. Go ahead, Isha.
He was washing the feet of the Brahmanas.
Yes, Krishna was washing the feet of the Brahmanas. Okay, so I think we'll continue now. So we completed the Rajasuya sacrifice. During his stay in Indraprastha, Krishna was personally okay. So Rajasuya Yagya is over. Krishna sent back his family members to Dwaraka, but he decided to stay a few days longer because Yudhishthir Maharaj begged Krishna to stay longer. And then we saw how one day Draupadi was also serving Krishna very nicely. She was very affectionate to Krishna. And one day Krishna cut his finger while cutting fruit. And Draupadi tore her sari and she tied Krishna's finger with that. She gave it to Krishna. So Krishna said, he thanked her and he said, what did Krishna say? I will surely repay this gift of your sari. So now we'll continue. Next. Chapter 18, Duryodhan's envy. Duryodhan had also decided, okay, 1 second, I think we have a new member. Krishna Tulasi, Hare Krishna. Where are you joining from? You unmute yourself. Hare Krishna. Where are you situated?
In India.
Okay, okay, nice. Thank you for joining. All
Thank
right.
you.
Okay, so you can mute yourself now. We'll just continue. Duryodhan's envy. Duryodhan had also decided to stay on for a while in Indraprastha with Shakuni. So Rajasuya Yagya is over, but Duryodhan decided to stay longer along with Shakuni. The prince burned from envy of the Pandavas' success. They had far exceeded him in their power and influence. Duryodhan could not stand the fact that Yudhisthira was now the emperor of the world, a position he felt should belong to him. He gazed with astonishment at the unlimited wealth piled in Yudhishthira's treasury. The Kaurava had never seen such opulence. You remember what was Duryodhan's service? He was collecting all the gifts that the kings were bringing. So he could see, my God, so much wealth. And he was feeling completely envious, jealous. Why Yudhishthira is having so much wealth? I should have all this wealth. He had never seen such opulence. Duryodhan was especially intrigued by the Mayasabha and he wanted to take a closer look. Thus, he and Shakuni examined the hall. The Kaurava saw celestial designs which he had never seen before anywhere else. He was amazed by the workmanship and splendor of the palace. It was as if he had gone to the heavenly planets. Bright gems sparkled on all sides of the spacious hall, and Duryodhan could feel a cool breeze which carried a mixture of celestial fragrances, ivory and gold seeds, stood by the side of lotus-filled lakes. The walls were inlaid with exquisite carvings depicting the gods and their consorts. Duryodhan slowly made his way through the hall, his many golden ornaments jangling together as he walked. As he saw Maya's intricate and wonderful workmanship, he became even more jealous. He snapped angrily at the palace servants walking in front of him. With his gold-coated head held high, he walked casually, trying not to show any signs of being impressed. So when he saw the servants, Yudhishthira Maharaj's servants in the Mayasabha walking, he just pretended like he was not impressed with anything. He was walking casually. Gradually, he came to the large crystal pond at the center of the palace. The water was perfectly clear and still. At first glance, it appeared to be a continuation of the marble floor leading up to it, and Duryodhan made that mistake. Fully clothed and with his eyes wide open, he fell straight into the water. The Pandavas were standing on a golden balcony above the pond. Seeing Duryodhan falling in with his arms and legs akimbo, Bhima laughed aloud. Many of Krishna's queens were also present, and they too laughed. The Kaurava prince hauled himself out of the lake, helped by Shakuni. He did not even look at the Pandavas or Krishna and his queens. Their laughter was unbearable. Yudhishthir saw Duryodhan's embarrassment and told his brothers not to laugh. Krishna smiled but said nothing as Yudhishthir arranged for dry clothes to be brought and offered to the angry prince. Duryodhan quickly put them on and continued his tour, trying hard to conceal his feelings. Right? So he was completely embarrassed, humiliated actually, but he was just pretending like he was okay, trying very hard. Everything was intolerable to him. The magnificence of the palace, the incomparable beauty of the queens who moved about within it, and particularly Draupadi. Duryodhana was still burning from his failure to win the Panchala princess. He was also there in the Swayamvar. He wanted to marry. So he's still burning in envy, right? That he failed to win Draupadi. She was a jewel among women. She too had laughed when he had fallen into the lake. This was agony. Suddenly, he again found himself a victim of the deceptive designs of the palace. He walked into an apparently open door, then avoided another because he thought it was closed when it was actually open. The palace attendants were struggling to restrain their laughter. Humiliated and angry, the prince stormed out. Yudhishthir felt sorry to see Duryodhana's pain. He tried to console him in various ways, but Duryodhana just laughed. He bade the Pandavas farewell and left for Hastinapur, followed by his large retinue, his mind bent upon revenge. Then Krishna also decided to return home. As he was departing, he spoke affectionately to Yudhishthir. O king, cherish all your subjects and ceaseless vigilance and patience. I'll read that again. Krishna is telling to Yudhishthir, O king, cherish all your subjects with ceaseless vigilance and patience. As the cloud is to all creatures, or the large tree to the birds, so should you become the refuge to your dependents. That means you have to be equal and you should give shelter to everyone. After Krishna's departure, the Pandavas approached Vyasadeva, who had not yet left. Yudhishthir asked him if the sacrifice had been successful. The rishi replied, O Kuru child, this sacrifice will yield great results for 13 years. You shall be the undisputed emperor of this wide earth. But at the end of that period, you will be the cause of a war which will rid the world of Kshatriyas. Yudhishthir was alarmed. Seeing his expression, Vyasadeva said, Do not be aggrieved. No one can overcome the influence of time. Everything is arranged by the Supreme for the ultimate good of all. This war will be Duryodhana's fault, not yours. I shall now go to the mountains, but you will see me again in times of need. So, Vyasadeva is also leaving. The rishi then stood up and left, surrounded by all the other sages. When they were gone, Yudhishthir spoke to his brothers. The sage's words cannot prove false, but I do not wish to be the cause of suffering in the world. From this day on, I shall not speak a harsh word to anyone. I shall always practice virtue and shall see no difference between my own sons and those of others. And I shall follow my elders' commands without the least hesitation. In this way, I shall avoid disagreements, for they are the cause of war. So you understood? Vyasadeva told Yudhishthir Maharaj that there will be a war after 13 years. So you will be the cause. But then he said, it's not exactly you, Duryodhana will be the cause. And Yudhishthir Maharaj is thinking, what will cause a war? When there is some disagreement, some offenses are done, then there's war. So just to avoid disagreements, I will always say yes to whatever my elders ask me to do. And I will be equal to my sons and other sons. That's when fights happen, isn't it? This is my son and that is your son. I'm partial to mine, and then there's fights. So I will be equal to everyone and I will carry out the orders given by elders without hesitation. Yudhishthir continued to think about Vyasadeva's words. It seemed that the Lord's plan was unfolding. Although the Pandavas had asserted their rulership over the earth, it was still a fact that many impious kings were exploiting the earth's resources. Yudhishthir saw at the sacrifice that many had supported Shishupal against Krishna, although they were afraid to oppose him openly. Right? Shishupal was the one who was openly speaking. The others were not speaking openly out of fear, but it was obvious that they were supporting Shishupal. That means Still there are kings on this earth who are not obedient to Krishna. Who knew what evil schemes Duryodhana and his brothers would dream up? All of this was no doubt Krishna's arrangement to rid the world of ungodly elements. Yudhishthira remained immersed in thought of Krishna and his mysterious plans. As he made his way back to Hastinapur, Duryodhana sat brooding. So now Duryodhana, he's on the way back to Hastinapur. What's happening to him? Duryodhana sat brooding and miserable in his chariot. Shakuni asked, "What ails you, O king? Why are you sighing again and again?" The prince looked distractedly at Shakuni. "Oh, uncle, I am filled with jealousy to see the world under the Pandavas' sway. Having witnessed their astounding sacrifice and seeing them shining like gods in heaven, my heart burns day and night. Indeed, I am drying up like a shallow pool in the summer sun." Duryodhana gazed out of his chariot at the rolling countryside with its well-tilled fields and blossoming orchards. Groups of villagers stood and watched as the royal procession moved along the road. The prince continued, "When Krishna killed Shishupal, no kings dared to speak. They were all awed by the Pandavas' might. Or else, how could they have tolerated such an injustice?" Right? Duryodhana wrung his hands. "I cannot tolerate it. I shall therefore enter fire, drown myself, or swallow poison. What man who possesses any prowess at all can bear to see his enemies prosper? How can I ever equal their power and opulence? Who can help me achieve such influence? Fate is supreme, and men's exertions useless. All my efforts to destroy the Pandavas have failed. Instead, they flourish like lotuses in a lake. Therefore, I should die. Know that I am in the grip of grief, oh uncle, and please inform my father." So, what is he saying? "I'm going to kill myself. You tell my father that your son is dead or he's dying." Shakuni moved closer to his nephew. "O Duryodhan, do not envy the Pandavas. They are receiving what is rightfully theirs due to their own deeds. They have their half of the kingdom, and with Krishna's help and Drupada's alliance, they have grown rich. What is there to be sorry about?" The Gandharva ruler smiled as he spoke. Gandhar. The Gandhara, or how do you say it? Gandhara. Gandhara ruler smiled as he spoke. His eyes narrowed slightly, and he fingered his jeweled rings, right, like that. "Your cousins have conquered the world and now possess limitless wealth. Why do you grieve? This wealth can now become yours. You said there are none to help you, but I do not agree. You have 100 brothers, the greatly powerful Drona, Karna, and the invincible chariot warrior Kripa. And my brothers, along with the mighty Somadatta, stand ready at your command. Take the earth and rule it without a rival." Duryodhana's eyes widened. He sat up straight on the leather upholstered seat. Perhaps his uncle was right. The Kaurava strength was hard to rival. Drona, Bhishma, Kripa, Karna. Who could face these men when they stood together in battle? Duryodhana spoke eagerly. "O king, if you think it wise, then I shall conquer the Pandavas. This whole world shall be mine, along with the magnificent Mayasabha." So Duryodhana is saying to Shakuni, he's calling him O king. Shakuni slowly shook his head. He played with the set of dice he carried with him everywhere. "Do not be rash, O king. There are many ways to overcome an enemy apart from battle. We cannot conquer in battle the Pandavas, especially when they are united with Krishna. Not even Indra with all the celestials could overpower them. I was thinking of another way by which they can be defeated." Shakuni suggested that they challenge Yudhisthira to a game of dice. He knew Yudhisthira was fond of playing and also that he was not expert. At dice, Shakuni had no equal anywhere in the world. Without a doubt, Yudhishthira will accept your challenge. Shakuni continued, his arm resting on Duryodhana's shoulder. He cannot resist the game, and with a little encouragement, he will surely gamble away all his possessions. Thus, I will win for you his entire kingdom and wealth. As they entered Hastinapur, Duryodhana suggested that they go at once to Dhrtarastra and get his permission for the plan. Arriving before the blind king, Shakuni said, O great monarch, here is your son Duryodhana. He is pale and emaciated with grief. You should ask him the cause and try to find a remedy. Dhritarashtra was surprised. Why are you sad, my son? You have at your disposal everything enjoyable, no less than the gods. Vast wealth, the best of clothes, the finest food, beautiful women, all these await your pleasure. How then have you become depressed? Duryodhana at once admitted that he was consumed by jealousy of the Pandavas. Even though he had wealth, their wealth, his enemies' wealth, was superior. The Kaurava then described to his father what he had seen in Indraprastha. During the sacrifice, Yudhishthira was giving so much tribute, was given, right? People were bringing him. Yudhishthira was given so much tribute that it became necessary to turn some of it away. They couldn't even accept, there was no room to keep. They said, sorry, we cannot take your gifts. He had been offered millions of elephants, horses, cows, and camels. Heaps of gems and golden ornaments were stacked up like mountains. The Pandava provided 30 servant maids for each of 88,000 Snataka Brahmins. So there were 80, you remember Snataka. Snataka means a graduate from Gurukul. Brahmanas who were graduates. 88,000 Snatakas had come and each of them got 30 maid servants. He arranged to feed 100,000 Brahmins at a time during the sacrifice. 100,000 Brahmanas could sit in the hall and take prasadam at a time. Okay? And they were eating continuously. Listen, he arranged to feed 100,000 Brahmanas at a time during the sacrifice, and when they were fed, conches were blown. Okay? So when 100,000 Brahmanas finish eating, when that number is finished, they'll blow a conch. Oh, Father, I heard those conches sounding all through the sacrifice. Continuously throughout the sacrifice, those conches were blowing. That means how many hundreds of thousands of Brahmanas were fed during the sacrifice? Duryodhana told the king how he had even seen the gods of the Rajasuya. Samudra, the ocean deity, had personally offered Yudhishthir celestial ambrosia drawn from the depths of the sea. This beverage is superior even to the somaras that Indra enjoys. It was impossible for Duryodhana to describe to his blind father all that he had seen. As he remembered it, however, Duryodhana's heart burned with the fire of envy. Dhritarashtra remained silent. Then Shakuni spoke. O king, I know a means by which your son may win all this wealth for himself. I propose that you invite Yudhishthir to a game of dice. No one can defeat me at dice. I will win easily. In this way, we shall acquire all that Yudhishthir possesses. Father, please grant us your permission to carry this out. Let us conquer our enemies and enjoy this earth. Dhritarashtra was uncertain. Let me consult the wise Vidura. He will only advise us for our own good. Vidura will certainly block our plan, Duryodhana replied. And if he does, then I shall take my own life. Then you and Vidura may live here happily. What need do you have for me anyway? Dhritarashtra was pained. Duryodhana was his most dear son. How could he ever refuse his requests? The king decided he would talk with Vidur and convince him. He then ordered that a palatial hall be constructed for the match. It should have 1,000 pillars and 1,000 gates. Covering 2 square miles, it should be set with countless gems. 2 square miles. The hall itself was 2 square miles area. When it was complete, they could invite the Pandavas for the game. Dhritarashtra was still uneasy. He knew the evils of gambling. He called for Vidura and said, I have decided to invite the Pandavas for a friendly game of dice with my sons. They can gamble a little and thus sport together. I am building a fine hall for their pleasure. Vidur frowned. I do not approve of this, O king. Gambling always brings with it dispute and fighting. You should be careful that no dissension arises between your sons and the Pandavas, for that may cause destruction. Dhritarashtra tried to reassure his brother. When you, me, Bhishma, and Drona are here, what evil can befall us? In any event, destiny is supreme. Whatever has been ordained by the supreme power will come to pass. What can our efforts do to avert it? I have already arranged for this gambling match for my son's pleasure. Please do not try to change my mind. Vidura sighed. Fate is surely all powerful, O king, but we nevertheless receive the results of our own acts. We have free will. The supreme power simply reciprocates with our desires. It is the consequences of our acts which are inevitable, not the acts themselves. O Lord, consider carefully your motivation in allowing this gambling match. Yes? Why are you arranging this gambling match? What is your motivation? You think about it. Dhritarashtra remained silent, and Vidur slowly left his chamber with a heavy heart. He could understand that Kali Yuga, the dark age of quarrel and suffering, was beginning. The gambling match would certainly set in motion the events that would lead to the annihilation of the world's rulers. Vidur remembered the Rajasuya and the kings who had supported Shishupal against Krishna. He was apprehensive, but he felt helpless. Although the king was not a fool, he was controlled by his covetous and mean minded son. Vidur's counsel, although aimed at the good of all, was falling on deaf ears. During the coming weeks, as the hall was being built, Dhritarashtra reflected on Vidur's words. He disliked countermanding his brother's advice because he knew Vidur never gave faulty counsel. The impending dice match was undoubtedly fraught with danger. If it led to a battle between the Kauravas and the Pandavas, that would be a disaster. The king decided to try once more to change his son's mind. Sitting alone with him in his chamber, he said, O son of Gandhari, there is no need to gamble with your cousins. Vidur does not approve of it, and I do not like it either. Gambling inevitably leads to dissension. Everything we now have could be ruined. If you desire wealth equal to that of the Pandavas, then let us perform a sacrifice similar to theirs. Then the world's kings will bring you tribute as they did Yudhishthir. Why must you take Yudhishthir's wealth from him? Yudhishthir is gentle. He will never attack you or cause you pain. Give up your envy and do not grieve. Enjoy life with all the good things you already possess. Duryodhana would not accept his father's advice. He told him about the incidents in the Mayasabha, how the Pandavas and especially Draupadi had laughed at him. As he remembered it again, his anger was inflamed. In a choked voice, he described the incidents to his father. Seeing what I thought to be a door, but which was really a solid piece of crystal, I walked straight through it and smashed my head. As I stood with my brain swimming, the twins came up and supported me. Sahadev led me by the hand, smiling and saying repeatedly, This is the door, O king. I felt like dying then and there. The Kaurava prince also gave more details about the Pandavas' wealth. The Kauravas could never equal that wealth, even if they performed 100 sacrifices. Duryodhana had never even heard of many of the shining gems he had seen at Yudhishthir's palace. For weeks, an endless line of kings and chieftains arrived at Indraprastha, each bringing huge amounts of tribute in an attempt to excel the others in charity. Seeing all the gold, gems, weapons, animals, clothes, rugs,
ఎదుగుతుంది స్టెప్ చేస్తున్నా నాకేమన్నా నువ్వెందుకు పెడుతున్నావు
Please keep yourselves mute. I forgot where we are. Seeing all the gold, gems, weapons, animals, clothes, rugs, silks, skins, serving maids, perfumes, and incenses, Duryodhana was shocked when he saw Samudra fetch Varuna's massive gold conch, which Krishna then used to bathe Yudhishthira. So when Duryodhana saw that Samudra brought a golden conch with which to bathe Yudhishthira, it was given to Krishna and it was used to bathe Yudhishthira in the final sacrificial ablution, the Kaurava prince all but lost his senses. He could not, that was like the limit. He couldn't tolerate it anymore, right? His envy couldn't be contained anymore. He was about to faint seeing that. Dhritarashtra listened in silence as his son continued. Oh, father, the Pandavas have even spread their dominion to the far northern regions of Harivarsha, where no man can go. The residents of that land gave them hundreds of celestial conches, and I heard them being blown during the sacrifice. The tremendous sound made my hair stand erect. Weaker kings fainted upon hearing the noise. Duryodhana's voice became increasingly urgent as he pleaded with his father. I cannot live as long as the Pandavas possess such incomparable opulence. If they are allowed to flourish, it will only be a matter of time until they overpower the Kauravas. They are our enemies. It is only right that we should attack them and take their wealth. This is the Kshatriya code. Either I will gain control of the earth or I will die. This gambling match is the safest and surest way to achieve my ends. Dhritarashtra thought for some moments, then replied, O son, I hate such enmity, especially when you bear it towards those who are powerful. Such hostility brings about a change of feelings and is thus itself a painful weapon, although not made of steel. Do you realize that what you are suggesting will certainly cause a fearful war? Duryodhana paced impatiently in front of his blind father. What violence is there in a simple dice game? If Yudhishthira chooses to gamble and lose his wealth, then how can anyone blame us? We have nothing to lose. Shakuni will win every game. Oh, father, please grant me permission to invite the Pandavas for this match. The king rose from his seat and called for his servants. As they led him away, he said, Your words do not find favor with me, O prince, but do what you will. You will surely repent your rashness later, for deeds fraught with impiety never bring prosperity. That means those activities which are filled with impiety, they will never bring prosperity. I shall ask Vidur to invite the Pandavas. A few days later, the king heard that the hall had been completed. He called for Vidur and said, Please leave at once for Indraprastha and arrange Yudhishthir and bring Yudhishthir and his brothers. Invite them for a friendly game of dice with their cousins in our new hall. Vidur tried one last time to dissuade the king. This match will bring about the destruction of our race. Clearly, your son wants only the Pandavas' wealth and has contrived this means to take it. Dissension among our family members will cause our ruin. O king, stop it now while you have the chance. But Dhritarashtra had already made up his mind. Oh brother, everything lies in the hands of destiny. If destiny so wills it, then we will not be harmed. And if by the course of fate we are to suffer, then what can be done? Everything happens according to providence. Therefore, please go to Indraprastha and return with Kunti's invincible sons. Vidur looked despairingly at the blind monarch. It was hopeless to try to change his mind. His attachment for Duryodhana was too strong. Even though he could obviously see the results of acquiescing to his son, Dhritarashtra still did not refuse him. Fearing the worst, Vidur left the palace and prepared for his journey. Can we read another chapter? You're okay? This is the dice game. Okay? Chapter 19, the dice game. This is the gambling match. After the Rajasuya, Indraprastha had become unlimitedly opulent. The roads, streets, and lanes were sprinkled daily with perfumed water. Huge white mansions stood along the sides of the wide avenues. Jeweled gates and arches, golden water pots at their sides, stood at the city's crossroads. All the citizens were dressed in colorful silks and adorned with garlands and gold ornaments, and they felt secure under the Pandavas' rule. Every day, more and more kings were arriving in Indraprastha from other countries, coming to pay tribute. Rajasuya is over, still kings are coming to give gifts, tributes. Yudhishthir sat in the Mayasabha with his brothers. When they were not engaged in affairs of state, they enjoyed hearing spiritual instructions from the Brahmins. As they were seated one day, listening to the rishis recounting ancient Vedic histories, a guard arrived to announce Vidur's arrival. Yudhishthir immediately stood up to receive him. He loved Vidur, who had always shown them so much care from childhood. With tears in his eyes, Yudhishthir bowed at his uncle's feet. As he rose, he saw Vidur's expression and said, "O Khatwa, your mind seems disturbed. Do you come in peace? Is the king well? Are his sons obedient to their old father and the people obedient to his rule?" Taking his seat close to the Pandavas, Vidura replied, "The illustrious monarch and his relatives are well. Surrounded by his sons and ministers, he reigns like Indra, but he is bent upon his own aggrandizement. The king ordered me to first inquire after your welfare and then to inform you that he has constructed a hall equal to yours. He wishes he wishes you to come and see it and to enjoy a game of dice with your cousins." Yudhishthir glanced across at his brothers and then back to Vidur. He was immediately apprehensive. "O Khatwa, if we gamble, we shall probably fight. How can I possibly consent to the king's proposal? What do you think I should do?" "Gambling is the root of all misery," Vidur said. "I tried to dissuade Dhritarashtra, but he could not hear my advice. Thus, he has sent me here to bring you to Hastinapur. It seems that Duryodhana desires a game in which Shakuni will match his skills with yours. The blind king has granted his permission, and he now wishes you to come at once." Knowing that it was Dhritarashtra who had sent the invitation, Yudhishthir felt obliged to go. He had vowed never to refuse his elders' orders. Even though he was now emperor of the world, Dhritarashtra was a respectable superior. He said, "I have no desire to gamble, but if I am challenged, I will not be able to refuse, because the Kshatriya code is to always accept a challenge. Surely this world moves according to the will of supreme providence. All-powerful fate deprives us of our reason, and we move according to its dictates as if bound by a rope. I will come to Hastinapur on King Dhritarashtra's command." So what happened? One thing is, Yudhishthir Maharaj had taken a vow recently after Vyasadeva told him there would be a war after 13 years. So to somehow from his side to try to evade that war or avoid that war, he took a vow that he will always be obedient to his superiors. So this is Dhritarashtra Maharaj, his superior, his father's older brother, telling him, so he couldn't say no. And the other thing is, after going there, if they challenge him to a match, it is the Kshatriya's duty. When he is challenged, then he cannot refuse. He has to take up that challenge, whether it is gambling or battle. So that's why Yudhishthir Maharaj is saying, "I don't want to do it, but looks like, providence is supreme, right? It's most powerful." Yudhishthir knew that Shakuni was a gifted dice player. The Gandhara monarch was familiar with every secret of the game. But Yudhishthira also knew that he could only win if the Lord ordained it. No one moved independently of the Lord's desire. If the Lord desired that Yudhishthira lose his wealth, then what could he do? He simply had to accept it as part of a divine scheme meant ultimately for his own good. He ordered his brothers to make themselves ready to travel. The party left the following day. With the Brahmins walking before him, Yudhishthira proceeded on a golden chariot followed by his brothers. Attired in royal robes and golden ornaments, they entered Dhritarashtra's palace, where they were greeted by the king and his sons, along with Bhishma, Drona, Karna, Kripa, and the other kings whom Dhritarashtra had invited. They were then shown to beautifully furnished rooms where they settled for the evening. After going through their daily physical exercises and their religious rites, they were offered the best of food. Dancers and singers entertained them as they ate. Then, after Brahmins had blessed them, they retired for the night. The women from Indraprastha entered the ladies' quarters. All of Dhritarashtra's daughters-in-law, he had 100 sons, so 100 daughters-in-law at least, all of Dhritarashtra's daughters-in-law were filled with envy to see their beauty and prosperity, the beauty of the Indraprastha ladies. So they were filled with envy to see their beauty and prosperity. After exchanging greetings with the Kaurava women, Draupadi and the other Pandava queens rested for the night on ivory beds covered with soft mattresses and spread with pure white silk. In the morning, the Pandavas were brought to the new assembly hall. Amid the sound of drums and other instruments, they took their places on jeweled seats covered with costly rugs. The hall was crowded with kings from many provinces, with Dhritarashtra sitting at their head. Duryodhana and Shakuni sat opposite the Pandavas, both smiling. When Yudhishthira was settled, the assembly became silent, and Shakuni said, "We have all been waiting for you, O king. The hall is full, and we are eager to play dice." Yudhishthira answered, "O king, there is no prowess to be found in deceitful dice playing. Indeed, it is bereft of morality. Why then do you wish us to play?" Shakuni raised his eyebrows. "We do not wish to be deceitful, O Yudhishthir. It is simply a friendly match. We can fix the stakes so that no one is injured. The great Rishi Devala has instructed me that one should not engage in playing with a professional gamester." Yudhishthir replied, "O Shakuni, do not try to take from me the wealth with which I wish to serve the Brahmins. Even enemies should not be vanquished by desperate stakes in deceitful play. And I have no desire to win more wealth by gambling. So why should I play with you?" Right? So why people play gambling? Hoping to win wealth. That's why they play gambling. I'm satisfied with what I have and I don't want more. Why should I play? And for you, if you're trying to play to win my wealth is going to be spent in serving the Brahmins. So don't try to take my wealth. Shakuni laughed. "O king, obviously one plays at dice to win something. If you are afraid of me, or if you feel I have dishonest motives, then do not play." Yudhishthir looked up at the Kuru elders, right? Someone else should say here. They should say something. The elders like Bhishma Dev, Dronacharya, Dhritarashtra. So Yudhishthir Maharaj looked at the Kuru elders. They were all sitting silently. Both Bhishma and Vidur sat with their heads down. After Vidur, Bhishma had also tried unsuccessfully to dissuade the king from allowing the match, and he had attended it reluctantly. That means Dhritarashtra didn't take the advice. Dhritarashtra sat on his splendid throne, listening carefully to the discussion. Dhritarashtra simply listening. What's going on? Yudhishthir said, "O Shakuni, when challenged, I never refuse. This is my vow. Fate is all powerful. We are all under the sway of destiny, and whatever is ordained will surely come to pass. With whom can I play in this assembly? Who can stake equally with me? Yudhishthir knew that Shakuni, although more skilled at the game, could not match his wealth and was thus not a suitable opponent for him. But Duryodhan said quickly, I shall supply gems, gold, and other wealth, O king. Let Shakuni cast the dice on my behalf. Yudhishthir raised his eyebrows. It was exactly as he had feared. Obviously, this was no friendly match. He raised his objections in a firm voice. I have never heard that one man plays while another stakes. O Duryodhan, this is not within the rules of the game. Yudhishthir again looked at the elders, right? Someone should say something. But none of them spoke. Duryodhan laughed and repeated that if Yudhishthir was afraid, then he need not play. Shakuni smiled and rolled the dice in his hands. The sound of the ivory dice striking together rose above the silence in the hall. Seeing Dhritarashtra's complicity, Yudhishthir said, If it is your desire, Duryodhan, then let the play begin. The Pandava took a priceless string of pearls from his neck. Here is my stake, O king. With what shall you wager against me? Duryodhan replied, I have wealth counted in the millions and tens of millions, but I am not proud of it. I shall equal all that you stake. Throw the dice, Shakuni, and let us see who wins. Shakuni called out a number and threw the dice. As the dice came to a stop on the number he had called, he cried out, See, I have won. Yudhishthir said, In a game contrived only for my defeat, you have won by unfair means, O king. Do you feel happy? Let the game continue. I have many beautiful jars, each filled with 1,000 gold coins. These shall be my next stake. Yudhishthir cast the dice and called his number, but they fell differently. Yudhishthir Maharaj, he threw the dice, but he didn't get the number he wanted. Shakuni again took up the dice. He closed his eyes and held them tight, then called for an 8. The dice rolled across the polished wooden board and came to a stop on 8. Shakuni pointed to the dice like an excited child. See, I have won again. His laughing voice echoed around the hall. Yudhishthir remained impassive. He had little chance of defeating Shakuni at the game. The Gandhara king had practically made dice his life and soul. He played always with experts. Backed by Duryodhan's resources, he would also be impossible to overcome at staking. Yudhishthir said, I shall stake my sacred, victorious, and splendid chariot, equal to 1,000 other chariots. It is made of refined gold and covered with tiger skins. Its wheels resound like thunder when it is driven. It is adorned with 1,000 bells, and it is drawn by 8 steeds, 8 horses, not 4, as white as moonbeams and swifter than the wind itself. It was Shakuni's turn to cast first again. He called out his number, and the dice fell as if at his command. I win! His voice mixed with the laughter of Duryodhan and his brothers. They taunted Yudhishthir. What will you stake next, O Emperor? Yudhishthir sat surrounded by his brothers. All of them glared at Duryodhan. Arjun reached over and touched Yudhishthir's shoulder. He shook his head slightly as his elder brother turned toward him. But Yudhishthir said, I have 100,000 serving girls who are all young and richly adorned with costly garments and gold ornaments, and who are all skilled in the 64 arts of service, especially dancing and singing. At my command, they wait upon celestials, Brahmins, and kings. These shall be my next stake. Consider it matched, said Duryodhan with a smile. Once again, Yudhishthir failed to throw the number he called, but Shakuni rolled the dice with consummate skill and won the throw. Ha! I win again. On the royal podium, Dhritarashtra leaned forward and eagerly asked Vidur, What was the stake? What has been won? Vidur moved uneasily. He could not tolerate seeing the Pandavas being robbed by such deceitful means. He watched in pain as Yudhishthir lost throw after throw. The Pandavas staked thousands of elephants, chariots, celestial horses, and countless other draught animals. He put up hundreds of thousands of soldiers with all their weapons and armory. Precious stones, gold, and other valuable metals were staked by Yudhishthir as he became gripped by the fever of the game. All that could be heard was Yudhishthir calling out the stake, Shakuni crying out, I have won, and then the Kauravas' loud laughter. Bhima was seething with anger. From the time that Duryodhana had tried to poison him, he had longed to face the Kaurava prince in an open and fair fight. This kind of devious and cowardly antagonism was unbearable. Without Yudhishthir's order, however, he could say or do nothing. Arjun also longed to string his bow and challenge his guileful cousins to open combat, but he too felt constrained by Yudhishthir. He could only watch in agony as they were humiliated by the sneering Duryodhana and his brothers. Vidur could tolerate no more. He stood up suddenly and within everyone's hearing said to Dhritarashtra, O king, listen carefully. I shall say something which will be disagreeable to you as medicine is to a dying man. When the sinful wretch Duryodhana was born and he cried like a jackal, I told you then to reject him. You did not accept my advice, although it was clear he would cause the destruction of our house. Can you not now see that prophecy coming to pass? The game stopped. All the kings stared at Vidur. Duryodhana scowled, but his father remained silent. Vidur continued, Hear the ancient advice of Shukra, the celestial rishi. Those who seek to collect honey from a high place become so absorbed in their aim that they do not see the drop that awaits them. Ascending to dangerous heights, they fall and perish. Your son, maddened by gambling, is the collector of honey, creating hostilities with the powerful Pandavas. He does not see the fall which awaits him. Vidur looked straight at the blind king as he spoke. He reminded him of how the evil king Kamsa had been rejected and slain by his own people in order to save their dynasty. Similarly, the Kauravas should reject Duryodhana. The king should order Arjun to kill him at once. In this way, O king, purchase these peacocks, the Pandavas, at the cost of this crow. He's calling Duryodhana a crow. Do not sink into an ocean of grief for the sake of one crooked family member. There was once a bird that vomited gold. A foolish king obtained this bird and out of greed killed it in order to enjoy the gold more quickly. Thus he destroyed both his present and future happiness. O Dhritarashtra, do not imitate that king by persecuting the Pandavas for the sake of their wealth. Instead, be like the flower seller who cherishes his trees with affection and thus picks flowers from them continuously. Vidur warned the king of the consequences of forming an enmity with the Pandavas. Not even the celestials could face them in battle. If the gambling continues, there will be war, wherein the Kauravas and all their allies will be destroyed. You will be the cause of this war, O king, because you alone have the power to stop your son. Still, you remain silent. I can see that you are enjoying your son's success. A man who follows another's heart, even against his own better judgment, sinks into affliction, like a man going to sea in a boat guided by a child. Okay? If you follow someone else's heart and your heart is saying, no, that's not right. So you don't listen to your heart and you just follow some other person's advice. What is the situation of such a person? It's like entering into the sea on a boat which is guided by a child. You will sink for sure. Do not, O king, follow a wretch into the terrible fire that has blazed forth. When Ajatashatru, who is Ajatashatru? Yudhishthira, who has no enemies. When Ajatashatru and his brothers are robbed of their kingdom and become angry, who will be your refuge in that hour of confusion? Why do you seek the Pandavas' wealth? You can earn as much as you like without gambling. Win instead these tigers among men who are worth more than any amount of wealth. Send Shakuni back to Gandhar. Do not wage a war that will destroy you to your roots. Duryodhana could take no more. He leaped to his feet. Seeing that his father remained silent, he rebuked Vidur harshly. Now we can see your true nature. Rejecting those who maintain you, you side with the enemy? O Katwa, there is no greater sin than injuring one's supporter. How do you not fear this sin? You are shameless, ungrateful, and disobedient to your elders. Why do you accuse me? Where is my fault? As water flows downwards, so I act how my nature dictates. I have received my nature from the Supreme. He controls all men's actions. You may go wherever you please. We cannot shelter enemies or those who are envious of their own protectors. An unchaste wife, however well treated, always forsakes her husband. So he's calling Vidur an unchaste wife, right? So the husband is the king and you are unchaste. Vidur shook his head in despair. He again addressed Dhritarashtra. O king, tell me honestly what you think of those who reject the advice I have given. So you tell me honestly, what do you think of those people who reject my advice? Surely a king's heart is unsteady. They grant protection one moment, then strike with weapons the next. Right? So king is supposed to give protection, but the king at one moment he gives protection and at another moment he will strike with a weapon. Vidur turned toward Duryodhana. O prince, you consider me foolish, but consider instead him to be a fool who ignores a well-wisher's advice. Right? That means you are foolish and your father is foolish. I'm giving good advice and you're ignoring my advice. I'm not foolish. That person who ignores a well-wisher's advice is a fool. There are plenty of sinful men in this world who will speak agreeable words, but one who speaks what is disagreeable but beneficial is rare, isn't it? Like you'll find many people who will say yes, yes, yes to you just to make you happy. But to find a person who will tell you the truth, knowing that you won't like it, still he will tell you because it is for your benefit. It is rare to find such a friend. Such a man is a king's true friend who, without considering what is agreeable or not, speaks and acts only according to virtue. Duryodhana laughed derisively. Fie on old Khatwa. What good can he do for us? Ignoring Duryodhana's rebuke, Vidur pointed to the Pandavas. Here are the 5 enraged serpents with venom in their eyes. Do not rouse them further. O great king, drink that which is drunk by the honest and shunned by the dishonest. Humility, right? Those who are honest, they drink humility. That means they are humble. Humility is a bitter, pungent, burning, unintoxicating, and revolting medicine. But drink it deeply and regain your sobriety. I bow to you and wish you well. Act swiftly to avert the calamity that has arrived at our door. Vidur took his seat near Dhritarashtra, but still the blind king remained silent. Duryodhana laughed and turned back to the game. So no effect of whatever Vidur said. He told Shakuni to continue, and the Gandhar king asked Yudhishthira, O king, you have lost much wealth. Tell me, do you still have more which you can stake? Yudhishthira replied, O son of Suvala, I have gold counted in tens of thousands, millions, tens of millions, billions, hundreds of billions, and even more. All of this I shall stake here now. Throw again. Shakuni smiled and cast the dice. As if charmed, they fell upon whatever number he called. Again and again his voice rose above the silence in the hall. I have won. Yudhishthir played like a man possessed. He seemed intent on losing everything. He staked all his innumerable cows, horses, goats, sheep, and other animals. Having lost his entire wealth, he then staked his kingdom itself. That too was lost. And Shakuni said, It appears that you have lost everything, O king. Yudhishthir's head hung down and sweat covered his face. Right? He's sweating. He lost everything. What is left? Surely it was time to end the game. But something within him impelled him to continue. He thought of Krishna. If only he was present, he would certainly save the situation. But Krishna was the supreme controller of everything. Perhaps he may still arrange for him to get back all that he had lost. Yes, what was there left to stake? Yudhishthir looked at his brothers. The hall remained silent as Yudhishthir replied to Shakuni. Here is the youthful and fair complexioned Nakula, adorned with gold and jewels and shining like a celestial. This mighty armed prince shall be my next stake. Moments later, Shakuni's voice was heard again. Lo, I have won him! Yudhishthir breathed heavily. By his side, Bhima and Arjun both clenched their fists in silent fury as Yudhishthir turned towards Sahadev. This handsome prince Sahadev administers justice exactly like Yamaraj and has acquired a reputation for learning in this world. Although he does not deserve to be staked, still I shall play with such a dear object as my stake. The dice were rolled, and the monotonous voice rang out again. See, I have won him also. Shakuni looked at Yudhishthir with cunning in his eyes. It seems that Bhima and Arjun are more dear to you than Madri's sons, for they have not yet been staked. Yudhishthir's eyes turned red with anger. Fool, disregarding morality, you sinfully try to create disunion among us who are all of one heart. Shakuni, not wanting the game to end, replied hastily, O king, in the excitement of play, a gambler may say things which he would never otherwise utter. I bow to you. You are senior to me in every way. Let us now continue. Yudhishthir looked at Arjun. Surely Krishna would not allow his own dear friend to be lost. He who takes us like a boat to the other shore of battle, who is ever victorious over foes, and who is the greatest hero in this world. With that prince as my stake do I now play. Duryodhana leaned forward eagerly as Shakuni threw the dice. Karna sat silently next to him. He was happy to see his friend winning the game, but he would have preferred a fair fight with the Pandavas on the battlefield. Dushasan and the other brothers of Duryodhana rubbed their hands in glee as the dice stopped and Shakuni cried, I have won! Shakuni gathered up the dice and looked at Yudhishthir, who sat downcast and shocked. We have now won this foremost of bowmen, O king. Stake the powerful Bhima, the only wealth you have left. Yudhishthir shook his head. There was no turning back. Slowly he replied, Although he does not deserve to be staked, I now play with this prince, who is our leader, who fights like the thunder wielder Indra. This illustrious hero with the lion like neck, arched eyebrows, and expansive eyes, who cannot tolerate an insult, whose prowess is unmatched in this world, and who grinds all foes. He is now staked. Roll the dice. Bhima looked at Duryodhan with narrowed eyes. He longed to grasp the sneering prince by the neck. But without Yudhishthir's permission, he remained still. The dice rolled inexorably onto the number called by Shakuni. Bhima was lost. Laughing again, Shakuni said, O king, you have lost your gold, your jewels, your animals, your kingdom, and even your brothers. Is there anything still remaining that you can stake? Yudhishthir looked up at Shakuni. I alone am left, the eldest of my brothers, and beloved by them all. If you win me, then I shall do whatever a slave is obliged to do. Shakuni released the dice and called out, You are won! He turned to all the kings in the assembly and proudly boasted how he had won the Pandavas one by one. Then he smiled at Yudhishthira and said, You have lost even yourself, O king, an act worthy of a sinful man. When you still have wealth, you should not stake yourself. You still have one stake dear to you. Bet Draupadi, the princess of Panchala, and with her win yourself back. Yudhishthir ground his teeth in silent anguish. His thoughts were in turmoil. How could he stake Draupadi? But there was nothing else left. His kingdom was gone, and he had cast his brothers and even himself into slavery. That had been a terrible mistake. How had he let himself get so carried away? Now Draupadi was his only chance to turn things around. He had to bet her. What else could he do? What shelter did she now have anyway? All her husbands were lost. Confused and praying fervently to Krishna, the Pandava looked up at the laughing Shakuni. I shall now stake she who is neither short nor tall, neither lean nor corpulent, who has bluish black curly hair, and whose eyes resemble the leaves of an autumn lotus. That princess, whose fragrance is like a lily, and who is as beautiful as the goddess Lakshmi, who possesses every accomplishment, who is the last to take rest and the first to rise due to caring for us all, and who is such that anyone would desire her, she shall be my final stake. When Yudhishthir said this, his brothers were horrified. The Kuru elders loudly called out, Fie, fie! The whole assembly became agitated, and the pious kings present there began to grieve, with tears flowing from their eyes. Bhishma, Drona, and Kripa were all covered in perspiration. Vidur sat sighing like a snake, but Dhritarashtra, glad at heart, was unable to conceal his emotions, and he asked repeatedly, Is the stake won? Shakuni's face was flushed with excitement. Once more the dice obeyed his command, and he shouted, She is won! She is won! Duryodhana and Karna laughed and slapped their hands together. Mocking the anguished Yudhishthir, Shakuni jeeringly repeated again and again, You still have one stake dear to you. Bet her, O Yudhishthir, rolling the dice as he spoke. Duryodhana turned to Vidur. Come, O Khatwa. Sorry. Why Shakuni is saying you still have one stake dear to you? He already lost Draupadi, right? Let me read that again. Oh, he's mocking. Okay. Mocking the anguished Yudhishthir, Shakuni jeeringly repeated again and again. Acha, he's saying again and again. You still have one stake dear to you. Bet her, O Yudhishthir, rolling the dice as he spoke. Duryodhan turned to Vidur. Come, O Khatwa, bring Draupadi, the Pandavas' dear wife. Let her be forced to sweep the chambers. Let the unfortunate woman now live with the serving maids. Vidur retorted, O wicked man, you do not see that by such words you are tying a noose around your neck. Do you not realize that being but a deer, you are provoking the anger of so many tigers? You have placed on your head 5 venomous snakes. Do not agitate them further, or you will soon go to Yamaraj's abode. Vidur looked around the assembly as he continued. Draupadi cannot be considered a slave because Yudhishthir lost her after losing himself. He was therefore not in a position to stake the princess. Like the bamboo which bears fruit on the point of death, the foolish Duryodhan wins treasures at dice. Completely intoxicated, he does not see the terrors that this game will bring. Vidur then went before Dhritarashtra. You should check your son now, O king. Only low-class men utter painful words which offend others. Kunti's sons never use the kind of harsh speech in which Duryodhan indulges. His behavior is condemned by those who are learned. Stones may float and boats may sink, but this foolish prince will never heed good advice. He does not see that dishonesty is one of the fearful gates to hell, through which he is leading his brothers and the entire Kuru race. He will certainly be the cause of our destruction. Duryodhan laughed. Fie on Khatwa, he sneered. Looking around, he saw the chief servant of the palace, and he called out to him, Pratikamin, bring Draupadi here. You have nothing to fear from the Pandavas. It is only Vidur who raves in fear. The Pandavas sat with their heads bowed. In the presence of Dhritarashtra, Bhishma, and Drona, Yudhishthir remained silent as they had done. He was stupefied with sorrow. His attachment for gambling had brought about utter ruination. Now, before everyone's eyes, the chaste Draupadi was about to be humiliated. Yet, what could he do? With the sole exception of Vidur, his elders were saying nothing. If they, and especially Dhritarashtra, approved of Duryodhana's acts, then he was helpless. He had never transgressed their orders. To him, his superiors were as good as God. He accepted their commands as coming directly from the Supreme Lord. The terrible events unfolding must somehow be the Lord's arrangement. Seeing Yudhisthira sitting silently, his brothers also remained passive, although they yearned to stop Duryodhana from his intention to insult Draupadi. So we stop there today, and tomorrow's chapter is Draupadi dragged into the assembly. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, then we can end here. We'll continue tomorrow. Hare Krishna. Yes, Dhanush.
So my question is, like, why did Duryodhana have that jealousy? Like, he has his own stuff. Just because they have more, why does he care? He can buy whatever he wants. He got a lot more money.
Yeah, this is the nature of envy. You know the difference between jealousy and envy? Jealousy means you want what another has. Like like if somebody has something more than you, then you feel like you also want that. Envy means you cannot tolerate the other person having it. If I don't have, I don't care, but that person should not have. So you're asking, why is he jealous? Why is he jealous? Because he is an incarnation of Kali Yuga. That's why.
Who's Kali Yuga?
Kali Yuga. So you know there are 4 yugas: Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapar Yuga, Kali Yuga. So these are the times. Just like you have the 4 seasons, right? You have spring, summer, fall, and winter. Like that, there are 4 yugas: Satya, Treta, Dwapar, and Kali Yuga. So there are qualities of each of these. So it's a time period. So there are some qualities of Kali Yuga. So, and also these times, there's a personification of these yugas. There's a personality for Kali Yuga. So that Kali Yuga's expansion is Duryodhana. So Kali Yuga has all bad qualities. And Duryodhana, being an expansion of Kali Yuga, he has all these bad qualities like arrogance and pride, jealousy, greed, like that.
Yeah, but how do you sort people into those yugas?
How do you sort people? No, we don't sort people in those yugas. It is said for us, we know that he is Kali Yuga's expansion because it is said in Mahabharata. He is a personality. He has a role to play here. So he is an expansion of Kali Yuga. It is said in Mahabharata, that's how we know. But in general, we cannot sort that this is Kali Yuga and this is Satya Yuga. But of course, there are qualities. If you read in Bhagavad Gita, 16th chapter, Krishna says what are the divine qualities, what are the demoniac qualities. So when you see those qualities, you can identify, oh, this person has the qualities of Kali Yuga, or this person has the qualities of Satya Yuga, like that.
Mm-hmm. Do you know where he said when he says that in the Bhagavad Gita?
16th chapter, chapter 16, the divine and demoniac natures. So the first 3 verses talk about the divine qualities, and the rest of the chapter, practically the rest of the chapter, talks about all the demoniac qualities. So if you read those shlokas, translations, you will and purpose, you will understand what is demoniac quality.
So chapter 16?
Yes.
What verse?
1 to 3 are divine qualities. 4 onwards, you will see demoniac qualities.
Okay.
Okay. So we'll end here. We'll see again tomorrow. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Bye.